Algebra 1 students, welcome to your 3.2 notes. I was watching football this afternoon and that song is in my head, so I figured I would share it with you. So there you go. Now you know I'm recording videos on a Sunday. So let's go ahead and start our lesson today with solving inequalities using addition and subtraction. We need to zoom in over here. And basically what we're going to do with these is we're going to use the same things, the same principles that we learned when we were solving an equation. And so we're just going to treat this the same way. And so in order to solve this inequality here, I'm just going to simply try to get m by itself by adding 14 to both sides of the inequality. All right? And then I'm going to end up with an inequality that's basically the same but slightly different. M is less than or equal to 24. So I'm going to pick a spot on my graph. It doesn't really matter where, because when we're doing a graph like this, we determine the scale of the graph. So when it's less than or equal to, I know that I'm going to have a solid filled in circle. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in my circle there as best as I can. And then m is less than 24, so I'm going to put a 24 there, and m is everything this direction. All right, so some people like to make their graph with this line right here on the graph. I like to make it just a little different so you can see where I'm making my graph. Either way is acceptable with me. And so there you go, there's how you do number one. On number two, we have 8.6 plus z, and really we can think about this 8.6 as a positive 8.6 sitting right there. I meant to put that plus sign a little different place, but that's what happens with electronics. The opposite of addition is subtraction, so I'm going to subtract 8.6 from both sides of this inequality. Alright, so we're going to end up here. I need to start writing again. Z is less than, and I can do this one in my head. I'm going to go 0.4 would be 9, and the difference between 9 and 14 is 5. So we would know that this difference is 5.4. I don't actually need to get a calculator out to do that, but if you did need to get a calculator out, that's fine. I'm going to pick a spot right over here because, again, we're going to choose our scale of our graph. So we've got 5.4 sitting there. This time I've got an open circle, and z is less than 5.4, so everything that direction. Alright, I realize that number 3 says do this one on your own. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it. Okay, so we've got a minus 22 is less than negative 7. So I'm going to add 22 to both sides of my inequality. And then I'm left with a is less than, let's make a better less than symbol, negative 7 plus 22. Or the other way you could think about that is 22 minus 7. And when we do that one, we're going to end up with a positive 15, and I can put that right over here if this works. Okay, and I'm going to label my point. Boy, this thing is not cooperating with me today. 15. All right, and a is less than 15, so I'm going to make my circle open, and a is everything that direction. Okay. Number 4 says g plus 7 is greater than 22. And again, we're gonna subtract. That's the opposite of addition. We're going to subtract 7 from both sides of our inequality, and we're left with g is greater than or equal to 22 minus 7 is 15. Boy, we've ended up with 15 a couple times here. So in this case, we're going to color in our circle. It's a solid circle. Okay? and g is greater than, so it's going to go that direction. Alright, for number 5, we're going to need to combine like terms on this one. So I can see that I've got a negative y sitting right there, and I've got a positive 2y sitting there. So I'm just going to simply rewrite this as y minus 4 is greater than 11. And then when I add 4 to both sides of my inequality, I might have called that an equation, it's my inequality. My 4's over here are going to cancel out, and then I'm going to have y is greater than, wouldn't you know, 15 again. Alright, so y is greater than, so I've got an open circle, it cannot include 15, and y can be everything to the right of 15. For number 6, we've got some fractions going on. And in order to add fractions together, I need to create a common denominator. And so basically I'm going to multiply this 2 over 3 right here. I'm going to multiply that by 3 over 3, which is essentially multiplying it by 1. And then I'm going to end up with 6 over 9 plus v minus 7 over 9 is less than or equal to 0. Alright, and then I can actually go ahead and combine like terms. So I'm going to rewrite this right over here so I've got some space. And 6 minus 7 is basically negative 1. So I'm going to be subtracting. Boy, my hand keeps bumping this thing, and then I've got a 2-year-old running through the room. Okay, I've got a negative 1/9 sitting there, which is less than or equal to 0. Alright. Once I get to this point, all I need to do is add 1/9 to both sides of my inequality. And then I'm going to end up with v is less than or equal to 1 over 9. And we don't really need to try and create a whole bunch of little ticks on this graph. We can basically just, kind of like we've done before, just designate a spot that's going to be equivalent to 1/9. Put that on our graph and say that v is everywhere less than or equal to that. So I'm going to use a closed circle. I'm going to actually close in my circle here. And v is everything less than that. Alright. This one says solve number 7 on your own. So go ahead and do that on this one. We're going to go ahead and pause the video. Try number 7 out. I think you can handle that one. And then we'll come back here in just a second and compare notes. Alright, so for number 7, hopefully you actually paused the video and tried that out. Y is less than or equal to 6. And I do want to kind of point something out as I've been going through these. I've been sort of putting my lines right up here above the actual graph. And part of the reason why I'm doing that, you're really supposed to have the lines like right on the graph, kind of like this. But if I were to do that with this tiny little pen, I was afraid you wouldn't see those. So, you know, even on some of our, you know, worksheets or exams or something like that, if you were to write out your graphs kind of like I've done in these videos, I'm totally fine with that. I think it's a little easier to see it. Some math teachers might go crazy, and some people that have learned this already in the past might drive you nuts to see that. But anyhow, that's kind of the way I've been doing it on this video, and it's fine in my classroom. So no need to be nitpicky about that particular item, but if you are, I just wanted to kind of throw in a little segment to describe that. Alright, for number 8 it says tell whether the two inequalities in each pair are equivalent. Alright, so on these, we're basically just going to manipulate this one here and see if we get the exact same thing as this one here. Alright, so let's go ahead and try that out. I'm going to go ahead and add 6 to both sides of our inequality there. So I'm going to end up with a 29 is less than or equal to the value of C, which I can actually flip over and say that C is greater than or equal to 29. And wouldn't you know, that's the exact same thing that they asked us if it was equivalent to, so we would say in that case yes. All right. It says for you to try number 9 on your own. I'm going to go ahead and work this one out for you. If you'd like, you can pause the video and try it on your own, but I'm going to go ahead and explain this through. Again, we're trying to figure out if this side over here is equivalent to this side over here. So in order to do that, I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides of our inequality, and I'm going to get 35 is less than V in that particular case. And in that one, that does not equal V is greater than 45 or 45 is less than V. That's different. It's 35 is less than V. So for number 9, we would say no. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your notes for 3.2. And I hope that you guys are prepared to work hard and finish your work before you leave class.